the desert of the real.
Welcome to the Desert of the Real. I'm your host, Ryan Hudson, and joined with me is your co-host,
Jason Dietz.
The Desert of the Real is a movie podcast where I force Jason to watch big blockbuster movies he's refused to watch because he didn't think they're worth his time. We are currently going through the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We're two high school teachers. We teach English and film, philosophy, and creativity classes. And we have graduate degrees, and we use our academic training.
And music appreciation.
That's new?
That's new.
Wow. And a music appreciation class. And we use our academic training to dig deeply into movies. We explore the creativity, philosophy, film studies, and ethics in our films and push you, the listener, to think critically about your entertainment. Today we are joined with a special guest. He had a shout out a couple episodes ago in our Infinity War episode.
Oh, this is the, what did you call me?
The world's most lovable sourpuss.
Oh, thank you.
Which is great because...
I mean that endearing.
I'm just a bitter man.
You are, because right before recording, you were telling us how you hated Jack Black.
Yes.
And we are flabbergasted. Anyway, no, we're not getting into it.
You brought it up!
I just want our audience...
Actually, I brought it up.
I want our audience to know that you don't like Jack Black.
I do like Jack Black.
Okay.
That's lies.
So my name is Donald Roos. I happen to be one of Ryan's closest, most favorite friends. We grew up together, and I'm actually a writer for Bleakhaven Comics. We had Kate on... Oh, you guys had Kate on the show a few episodes ago. He was the creator. I originally went to school to be an elementary school teacher. That didn't pan out, and I actually sell tacos for a living. But because of my background, when Cade was starting his comic book company, he's like, Donald, like, a lot of my content is for older readers, like 14 plus. He's like, can you start something for younger readers? And so I started developing a book, and Cade reached out to a group called Stand for the Silent, which is an organization that go to schools and school districts and communities and advocate for anti-bullying and youth suicide prevention. So the original concept that I started creating, we adapted to that message, and our issue number 0 for Credence, which is what the series is called, directly relates to those themes. And then we're working right now on a continued series exploring more of those themes wrapped up in a sweet fiction coding. So our entire philosophy with this line is talking about difficult, hard to understand topics through the medium of fiction. A quote that I want to bring up encapsulates what our vision and what our goal is in Bleakhaven Comics, and specifically for me with the Credence series. But it's a little known author. You could say that he's an artist in his own right. C.S. Lewis. I'm sure you guys have never heard of him, but he has a quote that goes a little something like this: "Since it is so likely that children will meet cruel enemies, let them at least have heard of brave knights and heroic courage. Otherwise, you are making their destiny not brighter, but darker." And to C.S. Lewis, his idea of fiction was knights, wizards, that sort of stuff. And in today's modern world, our idea of fiction are superheroes, fantasy, science fiction. And so the idea is, when done correctly, fantasy fiction can be an outlet for people to deal with issues that they're going through in their daily life. And especially with children nowadays, they're experiencing more stress than I want to say ever. The world's always been a messed up place, but studying elementary education, I was in the classroom quite a bit, and I got to know a lot of kids, and unfortunately, like, stable homes are the exception to the rule. and the majority of children are growing up in stressful, chaotic home environments due to the rise of divorce, drug abuse, pornography. There is a rampant amount of problems for children, and I think that is the reason why we're actually seeing an increase of people getting lost in fiction. So you got a lot of people hyper immersing themselves in anime and books, and our philosophy on using fiction to address serious problems is like gummy vitamins. So you have something that tastes good going down, but you only need a small dose of it. Because if you only ate gummy vitamins, you would suffer malnutrition. You still need real food. Real food is literature, books, real art, which I think is what you guys are kind of advocating here for. So we're trying to get people to not just ingest Marvel movies, but to actually seek out entertainment or media that is going to build them as a person.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
our goal is to give people fiction that tastes good going down, but at its core will help them be a better person in the future.
I like that.
Yeah.
You wrote a
too.
whole speech. I liked how you tied it in. I was so impressed with that.
So I'm an author of that comic book. That's who I am, and that's why I'm here.
And we'll just cut to that.
Yeah, let's cut all that.
That's absolutely fine.
I'm just kidding.
I was actually hoping that, because you guys are talking about pop movies, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Movies
over
that Dr. Dietz didn't think were worth his time.
So barring the ones that you bring up, right? Most of the movies that you're covering, the whole idea of the podcast are fluffy cotton candy movies.
Wait, say that again. What are the Marvel movies?
Fluffy cotton candy
Cotton
movies.
candy movies.
I think what you mean, what Martin Scorsese said, is they're theme park rides. They're theme park movies.
Yeah, where you buy fluffy cotton candy.
And you can cut this.
No, we're
but-
gonna leave that part
But
in.
the problem with Marvel movies, and in my opinion, is
Wait, did you say the problem?
Okay.
Yes.
You should. You need to be like one of
okay.
one of
Who's
the many.
interrupting now?
So Marvel movies are full of beautiful, amazing, imaginative ideas, and that's why you need to read the comics. The movies take a lot of these ideas, and at the end, the goal is to make a $1 million product that they can sell a movie. But what's more than that is the money doesn't come from the movies. The money comes from merchandise. So licensing for candy, you name it, right? And so when they make these movies, the goal is to make it look good enough to sell toys, magazines, whatever. Right?
Yeah.
But the ideas in the movie are beautiful and wonderful, and
Hidden.
if they would let the creators make them more than what they are, they would be genuinely good stories.
Yeah.
But because they have to appeal to a mass audience, they basically throw so much cream and sugar in it that you can't taste what it's supposed to be.
I like this guy.
Now,
I think he gets it.
my defense against Marvel movies and pop movies in general, coming from a child audience point of view, because let's make no mistake, these movies, even though they do have some adult content, are targeted toward children. And the benefit that they do have is they're seeds for imagination. So the powers, the characters, the overarching good versus bad that theme that every movie typically has. My thought of the benefit of that is that children can take those ideas and then use it in their imagination, kind of a sandbox idea. So that's why I like these movies. That's why for a number of years I was always at the 12 o'clock viewing in the theater, because it's not that I cared whether or not the movie was good. I was just excited to see these characters and ideas that I loved brought to life in a new way.
Yeah.
So I don't think most people go into a Marvel movie thinking that they're going to have a life-changing experience.
I mean, that's the problem.
They're all products of Disney.
It's candy. That's
right.
But and candy's not a bad thing.
Well,
you just can't only eat candy.
Wait.
Don't tell my dentist.
But
like that is the whole reason why I'm here on this podcast, is to help us see that they're not just candy.
Yeah.
There's depth to them. You can find.
And this movie tries to be deep. Don't think it succeeds, but it certainly tries.
Okay, and
we'll get into that later on.
We might as well get into it now.
Wait, do you know what I'm talking about? I meant the Scorsese quote earlier. Do you know who Martin Scorsese is?
No, Ryan, I have no idea who Martin Scorsese is. Who's Martin Scorsese, Ryan? I'm sure our audience all know, but I have no idea.
One of just the best directors.
How come I've never heard of him?
Wall Street. He did Wolf of Wall Street. Actually, we're gonna bring up Irishman in a little bit. He did Irishman. Anyway, he had this quote that came out
I can't
around.
help because I've never heard of him. So
I know you should change that.
I should go watch it.
Watch some
Scorsese
cinema.
movie.
You know, last time.
Watch some cinema. Oh man, here we are talking about Marvel movies. You're gonna tell me why?
Anyway, here's the thing. He said something around this movie came out in 2019. That Marvel movies are like theme park rides. They're fun, and that's it. And to this day, people are still mad about him. Like, Marvel fanboys will bring up, what does Scorsese think about this? Like, stuff like that. I just wanted to ask Donald one question, because, yeah, I agree. I think this feeds kids' imaginations. How do you feel about the next one being a rated R movie, Deadpool? That's the next MCU movie.
My opinion on rated R movies is the idea that not all movies are meant for everybody. So I think, because I have a lot of people in my personal life who will not watch rated R movies because they are rated R.
Yeah, like this guy.
And I believe that there are some rated R movies, a small few, but they, especially Martin Scorsese movies.
Yeah.
Like, I think Silence is one of the most beautiful movies I've ever seen in my life.
So good.
But a lot of people in my life won't watch rated R movies because of the rating, because there's language, violence, whatever. But I think that especially with rated R movies, especially like superhero movies, the idea is they have themes, or they can have themes that are valuable to express, but they can't express it in a way that's suitable for children.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, though, I don't think Deadpool's going to do that. I think Deadpool's mostly going to be a show of violence and profanity for the fun of it.
It's weird that they... Anyway, there was a commercial where he basically said that. Like, just let's turn off our brains. Like, why would... Anyway, whatever. We'll get to that.
I haven't actually seen any of the Deadpool movies.
Oh,
From what I do know about Deadpool 2 is I actually think that they had a meaningful idea in Deadpool 2 that they could explore in a rated R theme.
I wanted to disagree with Donald about the R-rated thing. It's like, so I watch a lot of movies, and most, as our audience knows, most of them are on. I only watch R-rated movies on VidAngel. So all of the things that make it rated R are gone. And what you notice when you look at VidAngel, it'll show you won't see this. There's a little graph. What makes movies rated R is almost less than a minute of the entire movie. And so my ultimate question for R-rated movies is, if it's a minute or 2 minutes out of the whole thing, what are we getting out of that? My specific issue that I have with R-rated movies is sex. I've only ever seen, actually I don't know that I've ever seen a movie that had to have a sex scene in order to deliver whatever it is that it was trying to deliver. There may be one or two, but for the most part, I don't feel like they benefit from it. It's just a way to, I guess, attract viewers. The message itself is not benefited by it.
I absolutely agree with that. My philosophy is that there's a few rated R movies that are typically rated R because it takes place in a prison or it's a war movie.
Sure.
And so in those instances, you don't want to show a child what the American Revolutionary War was actually like.
Yeah.
But it's important for adult audiences, whether you're reading a novel, because novels don't have ratings. And a lot of novels, if they did have ratings, they'd probably be rated R. And I'm talking about the novels that people should read. Mm-hmm. Two of my rated R examples are Shawshank Redemption and The Green Mile.
Yeah, I love both of those movies.
Both of those movies are movies I think everyone should, or better, they should read the book. But if they don't have the patience to read the book, watch the movies. But I'm not going to show my 3-year-old daughter Green Mile.
So what makes Green Mile rated R?
It's vulgarity, mostly.
Right, so what's the point of having it be vulgar and you miss this audience? Like, young people could really benefit from the message of the Green Mile. I love the Green Mile. But just because we have to throw in a bunch of F-bombs and whatever, that eliminates the possibility for younger people to receive that message.
I agree with you, right? And I think that services like Angel Studios, CleanFlix, all those sort of things, I think CleanFlix doesn't exist anymore. No. But I think that's a good service. And I agree with you that it doesn't need vulgarity. But there was a professor that I had who said that when you're watching a movie or reading a book, it's not the content that you need to worry about, it's the message.
Right.
Because you can be more negatively affected by a clean book with a garbage message than a dirty book with a profound message.
Sure.
So I don't think you should not eat an apple because of the brown spots. Is kind of my idea. Now, if you can cut out the brown spots, you're going to enjoy the apple more. And I agree with that.
Anyway, there's a mutual friend Donald and I have, and we've talked about this a lot because he vehemently disagrees about editing anything. Like, it's like artist intention, blah blah blah. And and even though I kind of typically agree with you, you can get the same from an edited movie. But he texted me a line from a movie because I showed an edited version of *Inglourious Bastards* in my film class. He's like, "What's the point? You're just ruining it for them." Anyway. He sent this line with it edited out. It's like, it's not the same, Ryan. Like, because it's, I don't know, you could argue poetry or like the artist wanted to flow a certain way or it just whatever.
In that idea, I do want to say that if you're not willing to read or watch something in its entirety, what's the point in watching it at all? Because if you're that against it, you can probably find something with the same message in a different form. So
what's going on in your brain?
If you're not willing to subject yourself to what that artist put in their film, then it's probably better for you to just not worry about it.
I completely disagree with that. Like, I think, I'm trying to think of like The Matrix, for example. I think everyone should watch The Matrix.
And The Matrix is rated R.
Yeah, and it's rated R.
Except for today, it would be PG-13.
Yeah. Probably, because there's no blood.
There's there's no strong language or anything.
It's just bizarrely off.
Yeah, it's maybe a little bit too violent in a few places, maybe.
Yeah. So these movies that have these messages, like life-changing concepts or ideas, I don't feel like... So I don't agree that the artist is God or whatever. Like, the easiest example is Chris Nolan is wrong about what happens to the top at the end of Inception. Like, he said it topples over and whatever. He's wrong. That is not correct.
Well, to be fair, he has said he's regretted saying that.
Well, right.
So
and
he wishes
so that's
to
the
rescind
point.
that
Okay,
quote.
great, whatever. The point is that the artist doesn't always know.
Yeah.
Like another really good example is the Sound and the Fury. Have you read that? So he wrote The Sound and the Fury to make money. He's like, I'm not doing any deep crap. I'm not doing, trying to deliver any message. It was his best book by far, and the depth of that book is amazing. And so I don't think the artists always or even frequently understand the power that they have. The power, I think, comes from what we do, like on this podcast. The power comes from, okay, these are the tools that I have. This is my point of view. If I take my point of view, take these tools into this movie, what do I see? And the R-rated movie industry, again, I will say 95% of R-rated movies could very easily have been PG-13 movies if they had just taken out or tweaked a minute or two that really doesn't add anything to the movie at all. I admit that there are movies that have to be rated R. Memento, for example, I don't think could have or should have been made as a not R-rated movie. Or Saving Private Ryan. If you made Saving Private Ryan PG, you might as well skip it.
And those are the movies I'm talking about.
Right. Okay. Then we're probably talking about the same thing. So we're not talking about the 95%.
Yeah.
Okay. Then I will agree. I was.
But like
Then I will
Deadpool's
agree.
a really good example because Ryan's talking about Deadpool 3 that's coming out. I haven't watched Deadpool
Me either.
because I know most of the
'Cause I
reasons
hate
it's
Ryan.
rated R is sex, violence, and vulgarity.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I had the opportunity to watch it edited, and I'm like, if I'm not willing to watch it in its entirety, why would I watch
Right.
the movie that was made with that in mind?
Right.
But
That's where I disagree. But that's okay.
I only brought up because I think kids are gonna go see that movie, and I don't know.
Yeah, I know they are.
Because when
And
I
it's
saw
gonna be
when I saw
marketed to
Logan,
kids.
I was
Right.
like, "What are kids doing here?"
Right, and it's going to be
Wolverine just
marketed
stabbed
to
that guy in the
kids,
face.
which is yes.
But then again, speaking, RoboCop is going to come back into this, believe it or not. But RoboCop had kids' toys in the
Yeah.
80s, and it was like there's like a cartoon and stuff. It's
a pretty messed up movie. There's
Yeah.
some messed up stuff that happens in RoboCop. Yeah.
It's kind of fun though. Like when the guy gets squished and he's all slushy.
Yeah, no, I love
It's kind of fun when
RoboCop.
that happens.
I watched it back in my pre-edited days, and yeah,
wow!
they did
How
some,
dare you?
they did some pretty interesting
That's
stuff.
Paul Hausen. Oh man, he makes weird movies.
I don't know who that
That's
is.
the director. Anyway,
Another director I don't have a
that's
clue. who
not
it is.
his last name. I'm getting.
I
it
might
wrong.
have to look up Martin Scorsese and Paul.
Anyway, we watched Captain Marvel.
We did.
In 2019. What was going on in 2019? Because I was student teaching, and I was living in a basement of someone's house
In 2019?
in another state. Yep. And I remember my wife and I. Ah man, like this is pre-kids. We were
You're
playing-
talking early 2019.
Yeah, the first half
Oh,
of the year.
okay. Because in 2019 is when
Yeah,
you
I
came
started
to
working.
teach.
My first year teaching.
Okay,
You're right.
that's why I was confused.
But before that, I was student teaching, which is basically being an unpaid intern. But I remember this basement apartment. The family above us were so cool. Played a lot of Dr. Mario. I remember just going to the theater to go see that, and it was just a specific sliver of my life when this movie came out.
They all are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where were you in 2019?
in 2019, trading my college education for a higher paying job.
I was enjoying teaching high school.
Yeah.
I love it.
Later this year, Endgame comes out. So it's like this, and then Endgame.
Should have been the end.
It basically is, if you think about it.
Okay, can we skip the rest
No,
of it and move on?
I'm forcing you to watch the other ones. There's some good stuff. Like when Donald was saying earlier about like the Archon candy films, popcorn films. There's one that I think is the most emotional that's yet to come. I think, or the most successful.
That's probably your favorite.
It's not, but it's
because you're our emotion guy.
Should we have one of your famous summaries?
No, we're going to have not a famous summary because I actually liked this movie quite a bit.
Which is weird.
And I've been waiting for this moment for a long time because I'm genuinely a fan of the podcast. I every time you guys release it, I listen to it on my way to work every morning. And it started out just because I wanted to support Ryan.
Right.
But I genuinely love this. And this has helped me be more analytical. And when I watched this movie, I tried to do what you guys do.
That's the point. That's the goal.
But it's hard. It's difficult.
I'm on board.
Because when I finished the movie, I was like, I don't have anything to say on any of this. I just thought it was a lukewarm movie. But then I'm like, okay, what words can I put to why I feel that way? So the next 2 days,
we talked about
I
that
just
last week.
started stewing about the movie, like really digging in deep to come to you with what I had.
With some stuff.
Texting Ryan of all the mistakes that he was making about comic book.
This is the guy.
Yeah.
Okay. No,
That's wrong. Wrong.
Okay, so welcome to Desert of the Real.
Do you want to give us a summary, Dr. Pete?
Sure. Yeah, so Captain Marvel opens on a war between the Kree. Go Kree!
They're the bad guys in this movie.
No, that's the paragraphing structure that saves the planet. I was super excited when it was Kree.
Oh!
Go Kree. Anyhow.
Hold on, you're going to...
Okay, so I brought to our high school a paragraphing structure that I called CREE, Claim, Reason, Evidence, Explanation. And it took me I don't even know, 5 or 6 years to get it school-wide. So when they were called the Kree, I was like, oh yeah, go Kree. Anyhow, so there's a war between the Kree and the Skrull, and the Skrull are supposedly the evil guys, and they're shapeshifters, and Captain Marvel's being trained by. You're always the guy that feeds me the name.
His name is Jan Ron.
Jan Ron.
By Jude Law.
Yes. Being trained by Jude Law, and they have this mission. They need to go rescue this guy from the evil Skrull. And so they go down, and they do not succeed in the mission. Captain Marvel gets kidnapped. The purpose of the kidnapping is for the Skrull to find the faster than light drive, is what they call it.
No, because that's Battlestar Galactica.
What do they call it?
I don't remember.
I'm pretty sure it's faster than light. It's not a warp drive because that's Star Trek.
Is it light speed engine?
No. Anyhow, whatever. Find this super machine. There's this really cool sequence when they're poking around in her head that I thought was really cool. Anyhow, so they go to Earth, and they're looking for this scientist that they found in Captain Marvel's head, who's apparently her name was Marvel. And they don't find Marvel, but they do find that Captain Marvel, was actually an Earth person, and she had absorbed the power of the exploding engine that we don't know the name of somehow. Anyhow, over the course of this, they discover that the Kree are actually the bad guys, and the Skrull are just trying to survive. And so Captain Marvel decides she's going to help the Skrull out and starts fighting with the Kree people. In the course of the battle, she discovers that they had put a damper on her powers or whatever, which answered a question that I had for most of the movie. So she, breaks the dampener, just goes ham on everything, lots of explosions and fighting, and then she leaves to go find a new home world for the Skrull that's far away from the Kree. The end.
Did you see the end credits scene?
I did.
Because that was actually filmed for Endgame.
Where's Fury?
Yeah, and so that was a scene that was in Endgame originally. And so actually, it's backwards because they filmed her stuff before this movie. So that's why, I guess some people are like, why does she look more dolled up and it's so different in Endgame. It's because she filmed those scenes first and didn't understand or know the character, and then filmed this movie after those scenes. So there's some backwards stuff with how they're filming things. Anyway, so that's just a cool little like deleted scene from another movie that they stuck there to get you excited for the next movie.
Yeah. Where's Fury? He's dead. Ha ha ha! That's all. I mean, that's all I've got. Screw Samuel L. Jackson.
Oh my
Okay,
gosh.
now that's all I got.
It is interesting. I'm wondering how you thought about Samuel L. Jackson in this movie.
Yeah.
Because you just
He was
He's a
a
main
little
character.
better. He was better in this movie because he
was
wasn't.
one of two great actors in this movie.
Wait, you said great
Well,
actors?
what I meant to say is like the two best actors were Samuel L. Jackson and
Wow, that is scraping
Lashana
the
Lynch.
bottom of the
Well,
barrel.
and it's because
Goodness.
I feel like most of the actors in this aren't great.
Yeah, Captain Marvel was not that good.
No.
Honestly.
Here's the thing. I like Brie Larson.
I don't know
And
who that is.
That's
but...
Captain Marvel.
Oh, yeah, I knew that.
I think she's good.
No.
No, like the actress.
Oh, in
other
things?
movies. I don't think she's good in this movie.
Yeah,
She wasn't
I
the
don't
right
either.
pick.
Yeah. Because
Well, she's actually the only reason I didn't rate this higher than 4 stars. Yeah. But, okay, so one of my huge pros is this a logic-based superhero film. The whole time they are, like, whoever that guy, whatever his name
Jude Law?
was, Jude Law's character,
yeah.
is like, you have to master your emotions, be logical. And so...
And that's so dumb.
No, because ultimately that's why she can do what she does at the end.
I know, but it's like...
And so,
Why?
so that one
The
of
whole
the
time she's like, oh yeah, because she's being very emotional right now. Let's
Yeah.
keep telling her to control her emotions.
Yes.
She hasn't shown any emotions at all.
Well, right, because she's been
it's
trained
dumb.
not to. But even when it squeaks out, Jude Law's character's like, rein it in. Your power is in logic. It's not in emotion. And ultimately, he was right. Because she becomes who she becomes because she's succeeded in reining in her emotion and is able to use her powers logically, like in targeted ways, rather than simply which she probably could.
Hey, I think this movie, for pros, right away, we have a Stan Lee tribute in the Marvel logo.
Yeah.
Because Stan Lee died in real life.
Filming this?
No.
Or during the filming of this?
Well, he filmed, well, yeah, sometime, because he did this movie, and I think he's won an Endgame. And then he passed away.
Oh.
So
I remember when he passed. So this is a moment that I actually remember when he passed away, because I was at Fan X for his very last fan appearance.
Oh, really?
He was supposed to be there. He was too sick, and so he zoomed in, and then he died like a little while after that.
That's crazy.
So I have a connection to that, which apparently is also a connection to this. So there you go. That's my first story of my life.
Oh.
There you go.
That's awesome.
So,
Honored to be here.
yeah. So, yeah. What was your other pros?
Yeah.
Because I've got a list.
My pro, I think Marvel sometimes doesn't get recognition for taking risks from comics. Because the Skrulls famously have been like bad guys and have been used for retcons and stuff. It's like, oh, how do we explain this happening? Oh, that character was a Skrull for a while. Joke's on you. You didn't know. But this movie's like, hey, you know the Skrulls who are synonymous with being bad? What if they're not in this one? And they're the ones that need help in this one. And it's actually the Kree. I think that's pretty cool that Marvel took that risk. Because they've done stuff like in Iron Man 3, The Mandalorian. Not The Mandalorian. What is his name? The
Mandarin.
The Mandarin. It's not what he looks like, and we thought as being Kingsley, it's the other guy. And he's like Iron Man's big arch rival. And anyway, it was a risk, and I thought it paid off.
Sure.
The Skrull being...
I didn't know it was a risk, but I liked it. Classic red herring, bait and switch kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it was good.
I think my biggest positives were the relationships in the movie.
Yeah.
Okay, because I'm looking at it from what a younger audience is going to take away from it.
Yeah.
I thought that Captain Marvel's relationship with the other pilot was great.
Yeah.
I liked the positive relationship she had with Nick Fury.
Yeah.
I thought Nick Fury was a friend in this movie, and that was a positive relationship. I liked that a lot.
And I know they're friends in real life because Brie Larson, she directed a movie which I didn't watch, and he's in it. It's like a Netflix movie. So it's kind of like, hey, I'm your buddy. I'll be in your movie because you're doing a directing thing now. So they do have something like in real life being friends.
I will say I liked Nick Fury's character. That's another one of my positives in this movie, massively more than in any other time he's ever shown up. Because he's like a human being in this movie, and in all of the others he's just this like cardboard cutout character of a sassy black guy. Like really. So I really enjoyed Nick Fury's character in here, even though Samuel L. Jackson can't act.
That was a big change that this movie made from the comic books, adding to what they did with the Skrulls, because Nick Fury is just superhero 007.
Yeah.
And they kind of showed us a Nick Fury in between what would have been his escapades as a super spy and then what he would be as the directors of S.H.I.E.L.D. So they just showed us like a normal dude in between what he was doing, and I liked that.
Yeah, I loved that. It was really good.
And okay, last episode was Ant-Man and the Wasp. We talked about de-aging.
Yeah.
And he's de-aged the whole time. This is still in contention with the best de-aging.
I was actually going to say that.
And as I said, we're going to talk about The Irishman, a Martin Scorsese film, because those people.
Wait, who's that?
In that movie, all the main actors are de-aged, like Robert De Niro, Al Pacino, Joe Pesci. They start out young in that movie and slowly get older, and they de-aged in a different way, which is kind of cool. Like, they didn't have like the technology is different. That's all you need to know. But the thing is with that movie, even when they're supposed to be 30 or 40, they're still moving like they're 60s, 70s. And this movie, for the most part, Samuel L. Jackson's body, you wouldn't know he's like 70 or whatever in real life. Maybe there's one moment when he's like running, like, yeah, that's a old man running right there. But it looks incredible.
Yeah.
The DH effect.
That was one of my pros. Yeah, it was fantastic. I like seeing Coulson again.
Yeah, and he's DH too.
Yeah, it was fun because it was sad when he died. I actually gave a crap about it.
And he has his moment to shine where he lets them go because he knows something's good. That's good. I also like Ben Mendelsohn, who is the main Skrull. Talos, and because Ben Mendelsohn, his default seems to be just bad guy. In Rogue One, he's the bad guy. In that Robin Hood movie I didn't see, he's the bad guy. In
Ready Player
One, he's just the bad guy, and they're kind of all like the same. But in this movie, he just does, I think, a great really job of being. Oh, this guy's evil, obviously. Just kidding. He's got this pathos side to him. He's got a kid and stuff.
Yep.
I think he does well. Did you see Secret Invasion?
I did not.
Oh, dang. Because there's Nick Fury gets a Disney Plus series, and it involves Skrulls.
And people loved it. It gets super high ratings.
And it's not
really
good.
Well executed.
But like the frustrating thing is that all the good ingredients, it's like, why is this not as good as it could be? Skrulls being, who can you trust? Who's a Skrull? That sounds fun, right?
Sure.
The show's not.
That's a whole other podcast.
That's a whole other episode.
They essentially,
which we're not
going to watch.
They threw away everything that the comic books gave them and made their own garbage.
Like Talos is in it, Nick Fury's in it, and stuff.
Cool. But yeah, I really liked Talos' character a lot. He was a round villain, which we've kind of started to lose, I feel like, in the Marvel movies at this point. But yeah, he was a round villain that wasn't a villain.
Yeah.
His whole, I wrote his attitude. Like, I really liked his attitude, especially when he first revealed himself to Captain Marvel.
In like the house?
In the house. Yeah. It was just really well played. So I'm not sure why you don't like this movie, because it's the best performance from Samuel L. Jackson. It's got a really good not bad guy. You're raising your hand. Yes, Don.
This is a bad movie.
Mm-hmm.
I don't agree.
It's
I think it's okay.
it's all exposition. This is a classic show of tell, don't show, because you're supposed to show, don't tell. And all of the information,
I don't agree with that either.
all the information we get in this movie is just them talking about it. And the dialogue's weak.
Some
which
of the
big.
dialogue is definitely
That's big
weak.
for me.
Yeah, some of the dialogue is definitely
I think this
weak.
movie is a solid okay. I would give it 3 stars.
You gave it 2.
I did, but I'll give it 3. Cause, it's fine. It's not hurting anyone. Those are most of my pros.
hurting
But
anyone.
I wanted to have a couple of fun fact of the reels.
Fun facts.
Okay, number 1. The cat's name in the comics is Chewie, after Chewbacca, another famous co-pilot.
Yes.
And it's kind of weird that Disney, who owns both properties, decided not to do Chewbacca, but went with Goose. You know this, or?
Yeah, so doing research for the podcast, I listened to interviews with the directors.
Yeah.
The reason they changed it is because when they originally had that character, Star Wars was kind of nostalgic. They weren't making current Star Wars things, so Chewie was a nostalgic name. But when they made this, we were neck deep in new Star Wars shows and movies.
Yeah.
And so they wanted a name
So
that
they wanted
wasn't
Top Gun
associated.
instead?
Yeah, so they wanted something more nostalgic. So they chose Top Gun because she's a jet pilot.
Cool.
See, that's awesome. My next fun fact is they were trying to decide, because Ben Mendelsohn, he can do an English accent. He can do an American accent, whatever. But they went with his natural Australian accent because it just seemed more human. And he's an alien. Like, oh, for whatever reason, this is the accent that we need you to have. It's kind of cool.
That is cool.
And then my last one is X-Men Dark Phoenix kind of came out around this time too, and that one bombed. And I only saw it once, and I don't really remember hardly anything about it. But they fight these aliens in it, and the ending climax was something similar to like the big ending in this movie, where there's spaceships and one character being so powerful, destroying spaceships and stuff. Kind of like what she does in this movie. And they saw it, and they're like, we gotta change it so it doesn't look like Captain Marvel. And then, I don't know, there's something about trains. I generally don't remember Dark Phoenix's ending, but they changed it because of this movie.
Huh.
Allegedly. Maybe I should throw that in there, because that's...
Guilt. Innocent until proven guilty. Alleged murderer.
And Donald, you brought up the directors. This is a directing pair. Are they married in real life?
I assume so.
It's a man and a woman. This is another example of Disney finding indie directors, and like, you did great indie films. Let's give you a big budget to do this. These guys were way back in talks with Guardians of the Galaxy, and ultimately James Gunn. James Gunn. Sean's his brother, who's also in the movie. James Gunn won Guardians of the Galaxy.
This is what I do when I'm listening to the podcast.
You're wrong. You're wrong.
Just like, it's this, Ryan. It's this.
You should have him in an earpiece.
Yeah, I know. But James Gunn won that one. But they were in talks years before this. And obviously Captain Marvel, it's a woman, and they wanted a female director. It's a little interesting that they chose a directing pair, a man and a woman, to be the director. But they're like, we're not making this without a female director. It got 50-50 in the end, which is a little bit interesting. But they've been in Marvel's sight for a while.
And this movie was made in the shadow of Wonder Woman, which is split 50-50 in which movie is better. Because being a female superhero, it's rare at this point.
Yeah.
And when you were in the restroom, we were talking about...
Cut that.
Ryan and I earlier were talking about how there's not a lot of female characters, and part of the reason they chose Captain Marvel is they didn't have a lot of options.
Right.
I mean, obviously they wanted to help keep the copyright, but there's just not a lot of female superheroes, so in order to diversify the team, they chose Captain Marvel because they didn't have a better option, which is unfortunate, but that's where we are.
I don't know that it's unfortunate. I come from a different place. Oh, that there aren't more? Yeah, for sure.
They could have chose so many. Unfortunately, they needed a lady, and there wasn't a lot to choose from.
Yeah.
But her power set and her character isn't that interesting.
Is not? Oh.
What's her superpower,
Yeah,
Mr. Dietz?
Their powers were ill-defined over here.
That's one of my negatives. It's ill-defined. I admit it.
Captain Marvel with the power of spaceship.
Yeah, that was definitely one of my negatives. But what I found interesting, or find interesting with if we're going to shift into the film studies, is just looking at the characters that we have from Marvel now. The two most powerful characters are both female characters. Captain Marvel and the Scarlet Witch,
yeah.
Which I find really, really interesting. I don't know if they're compensating from the fact that, there's only, 3, right? The Black Widow's the only other.
Well, I know. Now it's like, what about Black Panther's Captain of the Guard?
But I find it really interesting that by far
the Wasp. Sorry.
Oh, the Wasp. I forgot the Wasp.
No,
who's not that cool, but yeah. Anyhow, I thought
you feel free to interrupt this guy.
The Wasp is a lot better in the comic books.
Oh, okay, that's good. Are you done with your positives? Because I have a lot more.
It's kind of cool that it's in the 90s, but then it's like, get it? There's Blockbuster. Get it? Look at Radio Shack.
Right.
Get it? Look at this other 90s thing.
This movie gets a lot of criticism for the soundtrack because they basically ripped off the idea of using pop songs from Guardians of the Galaxy.
Right.
Where Guardians of the Galaxy does it well. A lot of the people think it was overbearing and forceful in this movie.
Like, there's the needle drop of Gwen Stefani's Just a Girl when she's fighting. It's like, it's a little on the nose there.
Yeah.
I get that. Yeah, those are all my positives.
Okay, I have a couple more. This is the first time, like I already mentioned, in my opinion, the first time in the Marvel where everything is logical. Like, everything proceeds logically from everything else. So the only thing in this movie that we have to accept on faith or whatever, suspend disbelief, is that she absorbed the power of this exploding whatever it was. Every other thing that happens in this movie is a logical extension of that. And so we don't have these just random BS things happening that, we need it to happen because the plot needs to move on. Everything, like her backstory, makes sense. It fits with what's going on in the movie. The explanation of her powers and what they do, which I don't think are as ill-defined as you two apparently seem to think they are.
Usually you're, for whatever reason.
Right. No, I recognize that. What do you mean for whatever reason? It has to make sense. Anyhow, so yeah, the explanation of how she got her powers, her memories, everything fits. And so I was just like, this is a breath of Logos in an otherwise pathos-dominated set of movies. Maybe I was just like, holy crap, finally something that actually makes sense from beginning to end. Maybe that's why I liked it.
I just want to comment on his take really quick because I thought this movie was boring. And not in a bad way. Like, I just wasn't...
What's the good way for boring?
Well, you guys are high school teachers.
Yeah.
A lot of the required material that you give your students, they consider boring. It's going to make their life... It's going to make their life better, but sometimes dry information is useful. But it makes sense that this movie is a little bit more literary if it is logic based than the emotional spectacle that people go to a Marvel movie for.
Right. So I appreciated that a lot, actually. It was really good. Also, one of my favorite, top 10 favorite movies of all time is Memento. And while this was not like that, really, I loved the disjointedness of the storytelling. So, was it a lot of exposition? Maybe. But the way that they did it, I thought was really interesting because they scattered the exposition out. And so we're getting, like when the scroll are looking into her memories, we get a little bit.
It's all
when
jumbled.
It's all jumbled up. I love that scene.
Okay, I wanted to ask both of you guys, and this is when I mentioned earlier, RoboCop, because I think Marvel, the company, is like, we've done so many origin stories. Here's another origin story. How can we make this origin story different? Like, let's change the order. But part of me can't help but question aloud: would it have been better if it was chronological? Like, if we knew her background and then it happened and then she lost her memory and she's putting it together.
No.
Similar to RoboCop. Let me just throw it in there, because RoboCop is all about who am I, where did I come from, but we saw that. What if it had that structure? Would it have helped?
My problem. My problem with the movie was they gave away the mystery. They took us along on a discovery journey, and we already knew the answer.
How?
Because we knew she was a pilot. We knew she was from Earth. And we were just watching her figure out.
By the middle of the movie.
Oh, maybe it's because some of us watched the trailer, and we already.
Because I did not watch the trailer at all.
Well, and my problem is because I'm watching this so far after it's been released, I already knew the twist of the movie, and I already knew that she was from Earth. So that was all ruined for me, and maybe
I didn't. I literally only knew the title of the movie and that she was female, and that's literally all I knew.
This was back when I would only watch the first trailer of things, because I don't want to
see. So maybe y'all should stop watching trailers because they ruin movies.
I can, but then put 20 minutes of it before you go see a movie.
but it's like watching a Batman movie, and like the Batman movie is about finding out that he's Bruce Wayne. If you already knew he's Bruce Wayne, then like, what's
I know.
the
Because I was thinking that, it's like, what if it wasn't like this? What if it was ordered? Not saying that would fix it or anything or help it.
It doesn't need to be fixed.
But I was like, I wonder if it needed this rearranging thing.
I don't know. I loved it. I really... Anyhow, I also love... Or Jason Bourne. The Bourne stuff. It's like the very first Bourne movie. I love those kind of movies. Like where he's trying to figure out, who am I? What am I doing? What is this? And I thought this movie... I mean, it wasn't perfect, but I thought it did a really pretty good job with that. Y'all don't, because you watched it already or you saw the thing, whatever. But I thought it was good. I also love the Flurkin. That was awesome.
Did you see the Marvels?
No. Okay. But I do want to add that the new Miss Marvel, like the young lady, Kamala Harris, I like her as a character.
Yeah, she's great.
And in comic book history, they actually just killed her in the comics, and it was really controversial. Spoilers? It made the news, so I don't know.
Oh, wow.
Because she's one of two notable Muslim comic book characters.
Yeah.
And the fact that they killed off somebody who represented that demographic was big news for people, because they took their hero. You know?
I do like Ms. Marvel a lot.
I don't know anything about Ms.
Wait a couple movies, we'll get there.
Oh, good. This just keep coming and coming and coming. What?
This movie, I felt watching this movie that this movie is actually a good representation of what's going to come for the rest of... Because there's a movie that they made called The Eternals, and it felt rushed and undeveloped and boring, a lot like this one.
So you need fireworks and flashiness.
I'm not saying that. My problem was, I think I do need more emotion, and that's granted by your skepticism there.
No, I was
but I think
that's why you're right.
My problem is, for example, like, I wish we could have seen more suffering from the scrolls. Like we could have had like flashbacks of
Sure.
of them being like cleared out of the ruins.
Sure.
Like if we could have seen like the massacre that created the ruins.
Yeah, I agree.
Right? Like that would have made this a much stronger movie. Instead it just said, we're victims. Everybody cool with that? It's just like, because she flipped. She did a 180 and betrayed her comrades just because somebody walked into a house and said, no, I'm actually the victim here.
But she also realized that they lied to her.
Right. It was a little more in depth than that, I think, but I still have positives.
Okay, I go. Yeah.
I know that you hate the helmet.
The helmet.
Yeah, when she goes in space.
No, that's cool.
Oh, I thought you hated all helmets that just
No, that
engage.
annoys me that we don't get real helmets in real life anymore.
Right.
All helmets are digital, but I like the look of it.
Oh, okay.
I like how
assumed-
they put in a bunch of Captain Marvel looks into one movie.
Yeah.
Because she's had short hair, she's had a mohawk, blah, blah. And like, here's this look when she's in space, here's this look on not space.
Yeah.
I think that's awesome.
cool.
I like that.
Her costume was a huge controversy amongst fans because it was silly that she had an iPad on her arm to change the colors of her suit. And everything. Like, why would a military person
I
have
no
that
idea.
feature?
That was a little
Maybe
dumb.
we should have that. Wait, okay, Donald, if you're like, imagine army people, oh no, I have to change my camouflage. See that?
To neon? We're doing a strike in a in a rave. Everybody
exactly.
put on your neon.
Yeah, that's true. But that was a good little emotional scene, or supposed to be bonding with the little
girl
kid.
Rambo.
I don't know. Anyhow, my last positive was Marvel, the fight at the end.
Whoa.
Well,
You
what?
like an action scene?
Well, because it was logical. Like, it made sense.
Wait, which one?
The
When she's
end,
flying
when
through a
she's
spaceship?
Or are you
like-
talking about when they wasted Rohan,
The whole-
Ronan the Destroyer?
Yeah.
Yes.
That man. Okay, Lee Pace is coming in making easy money that day. Come in, stand right there.
dial in your performance.
The character shot out torpedoes, and
Right.
then she like winked at it and destroyed them all.
Yes.
These world-destroying weapons.
Right.
She like blew him a kiss.
Yep.
Wiped it out. No struggle.
Right.
No nothing. She just like spaceship.
Right, because this is like her, like, I don't know.
No, I love
like
that
her
you're defending
coming
this film.
into her power, and this is the moment, like, this is like her puberty. She's hit puberty, and boom, all this emotion and power and blam and whatever. And yeah, it was
No,
great.
I agree with you. When somebody hits puberty, all their problems go away. They have no struggle. They can just do everything they
That's
want
right.
with ease.
That's right. That's what I was saying. No, like, just like.
But now, okay,
Like, life was like this, blah, 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 and then all of a sudden some massive thing happens and unlocks you. And maybe that's another reason why I like this, because I feel like when I'm with my students, I feel like I can see that in them. They can't see it.
you see their potential.
Yes,
you
I
know?
can see their, like, spaceship destroying potential. They can't see it yet, and so maybe that's why I loved that part so much, is because she now can finally see it. So one of the many things that I teach and cover is our social programming boxes us and limits us and prevents us from being who we potentially could be. And I felt like that's exactly what Captain Marvel went through for the first 2/3 of this movie. And then with my students, I give them these tools that we use in this movie to essentially take that thing out of the back of their neck that is limiting them and be awesome. And so
I like that.
That was one of my pros, that as a feminist movie, we were shown that she had an abusive father, and essentially the movie is an allegory of being in an abusive relationship
Right.
with a controlling partner.
Right.
And just that they tried to do that, I appreciated.
tried, meaning they didn't
They
succeed.
could have done it a lot better.
Maybe.
I think this is an example of an email that should have been a meeting. Like if they would have made this like a mini series, we would have got a lot more depth. But I think they just tried to cram too much in one movie, and we lost a lot of the depth that they could have put in there.
I actually agree with Donald. Okay, so
I don't.
okay, so
that's okay.
I'll just get into my film studies of the real, because it's more like a media literacy of the real this time.
Let's do it.
Because I teach my seniors feminist lens, which is always like, they're always worried about it because like feminism, blah, blah, blah. But no, this is a way to look at it. It's just how is gender being portrayed. Arguably, you can look at a movie with no female characters and still use the feminist lens. It's all about the gender and how it's portrayed. But I was like, because honestly, I was watching this, I was thinking more like post-colonial, look at these refugees here.
When I was watching this movie, I did see a lot of parallels between people's opinions of what's going on in Gaza.
Right, that's what I was thinking. But this movie is so clearly structured around a feminist lens. And then there's that montage and about when she was a little girl, when she's in the military.
I hated that.
Okay, that's what frustrated me, because
There's stand-up montage thing?
Yes, the stand-up montage, because
that was pathos.
Yes, I hated it.
Exactly
It
what
was so...
Don was saying.
It was forced pathos.
The forced pathos.
Yes.
Okay.
Hey. Audience, we finally agree on something.
All right, this is my microphone time. So, I was joking. But anyway, because Don is right. You could put a lot of what I try to stress with my students. It's not just like feminist lens isn't only women are better, yada yada yada. And I think there are critics who criticize this movie for them reading into that, like, oh, she's only the strongest and because she's a woman. No, but there's that montage, and there was a critic who I don't know the name of who said something like, that's a great montage, but not for this movie, of a girl who her whole life has been told to stay down, but she's standing up either way. Great moment. I think it's kind of cool, but not for this movie.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Felt like a Nike commercial.
Yeah, I mean, because I guess there's an elephant in the room of there is a large section of Marvel fanboys or people who are get mad at this movie over maybe reasons maybe they shouldn't.
So I think Brie Larson actually turned a lot of people off of this movie because of how aggressive she was to people on set, people doing interviews. And so...
But the thing is, and it still goes to this day, where there's a Star Wars series coming out right now, and it partially feels like if you criticize it, you get lumped in with, like, oh, you don't like that? No, you must hate women, or you must be homophobic.
Right.
Like, yeah, but I want to criticize something without... That's not why type of thing. But there are people who are that way, you know? Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure.
There's a conspiracy theory about this movie that this movie supposedly broke records.
It's the 5th after the Avengers, and then Black Panther. This is the highest one.
But there are people who claim that they saw this movie on opening night in sold out theaters with a lot of empty seats. So the conspiracy theory is that Disney bought seats to bump sales using their own money to make it appear like this movie was really popular.
Wow.
But then again, there's that scene where a guy on the bike tells her to smile. Do you remember that? Like, hey, try smiling.
And then she steals his motorcycle.
She steals his motorcycle.
Oh,
but then,
okay.
Literally on like Twitter, which is kind of like a hellscape anyways, people are like, why doesn't Brie Larson smile? Like, they said it, and that movie was made before these people are saying these things about the actress. So it's like, it's bleeding, the movie and real life kind of bleeding together with how people are viewing her as a character, her as an actress, how audiences are seeing this movie as being preachy. Anyway, it became a mess, this whole thing. We're going to stop there. This episode has gone way too long, and we need to split it up for your convenience. But we love you. Thanks for listening.
And we remind you to think critically about the films that you watch, because there is a lot of depth in I believe there's a lot of depth in every movie. You just have to be willing to do the work, intellectual work, to find it. So, think critically. We love you.
Give us a like and a review. That helps other
I was a little
people.
premature with the "we love you." Apparently,
That helps people find the podcast. And we love you.
we love you.
Hugs
Bye.
and kisses.